Welcome everyone back to another episode of Quick Hits, where I discuss between 4 to 5 games that I played and give you some quick reviews. These games either weren't particularly long or didn't have enough for me to talk about to warrant their own video, so they end up on this list. This doesn't mean that they're bad, of course, just not super deep. Just like any other review though, we'll be going over the story, gameplay, and performance on the Steam Deck before giving the game a rating out of 10, so let's begin. Starting off the list, we have the Hong Kong Massacre. The game takes place over a single night in Hong Kong. Former cop goes about avenging the death of his former partner by taking down the gang responsible for his death. In a rather spectacular fashion, mind you. During this mission, you'll go about hunting down the 3 heads of the gang to kill everyone involved and kill anyone in your path. The game takes heavy inspiration from the likes of Hotline Miami while incorporating its own flair, as you'll be able to do both a dive roll and a sliding mechanic that allows you to not only be invincible while using it, but also you have a slow down time mechanic that recharges on its own. But just like in Hotline Miami, everyone dies in only one shot, and I really do just mean one. The game is fast paced with pretty good enemy AI and level design. The dodge roll here is of course also essential. Using both it and slowdown mechanic are essential. You also have an upgrade tree you earn points in by completing certain challenges in every stage that adds a little bit of depth as you play the game. Currently rated as Steam Deck verified. When I was playing it, I was playing on the highest settings, and despite being a game with a top-down view, the graphics looks really nice and had a nice gritty noir style. The game had excellent lighting and shadows for a more immersive experience. I didn't deal with any bugs or crashes, and the frame rate stayed at a steady 60 frames per second. This game took me about 5 hours to beat, and then I played for about another hour and a half as I wanted to keep playing and ace as many levels as I could. For those of you who like getting 100% of the achievements in a game, this one could easily be obtained if you have the skills to pull it off. The story is good, the gameplay is good, and the performance was great, so overall I would give it a 9 out of 10. My only real issue is the fact that it just was particularly short, but that just kind of comes with the territory of these games. I almost forgot to mention, the shotgun spread is completely unpredictable, so sometimes you'll shoot at a guy just standing right in front of you, and the shot will just go left and right of them. Next up now, we have The Last of Us Part 1. I don't really think I need to explain the story to you guys at this point, since, everyone knows this game, but just in case, you're a Texas guy named Joel who, after the zombie apocalypse happens, your daughter dies. Flash forward 20 years later, and you find yourself having to transport this young girl who reminds you of her across the US in an effort to save humanity, and then stuff happens. That's really all you need to know. A standard over-the-shoulder third-person shooter, you find yourself with very little supplies and in constant need for them, of course, fighting off the infected and humans alike as you trek through the ruins of an American empire. Flat out, while I did like the combat for what it was, I also really disliked the skill tree and the upgrade mechanics, not only because of how they worked, but because of what you were actually supposed to upgrade. How is Joel still alive 20 years later into the apocalypse and he can't aim a gun straight or crouch quickly, etc.? It really hindered the experience, as a game like this should have functioned without any real need to upgrade stuff. I thought the gun upgrades were pretty cool. I really liked how they went about doing that, especially given the fact that you really never had enough to upgrade everything, so you really had to pick and choose what you wanted to upgrade. And when in combat, you really couldn't afford to miss, which made the game have a constant tension that I thought was really good. But again, why am I having to find supplements that are like 20 years expired at this point to upgrade myself? That was just dumb. Performance on the Steam Deck was a lot worse than I expected it to be. I really thought that the game would run better given its age, and I understand it's a remaster, but I figured they would have optimized it better. Holding 30 frames per second was kind of a challenge, and even with frame generation enabled at times, it just looked worse. Like, yeah, I got more frames, but the fake frames looked terrible and just made the game far more pixelated looking, so I just muscled through the game without it. In regards to the bugs, the only one that I really dealt with was like bodies glitching through the environment or just landing really weird and glitching into the ground. I did have the game crash twice on me though. Like, I think it just overheated the Steam Deck to the point where it just hard crashed it, so that was definitely a negative right there. Aside from that, I really only had the occasional glitch where certain items just weren't grabbable unless I was at a really specific angle, but otherwise it was manageable, and stuff like this is just going to happen on the Steam Deck as time goes on. Next up now, we have Little Nightmares 1 and 2. I'm going to combine these two games together as they're essentially the same game, but the sequel is longer and makes less sense as to what your end goal is. Story-wise, I don't even know what to say here. You're these small little characters that everyone is hostile towards for whatever reason, and you're on a journey of some kind. I really don't know what to say outside of that, just straight up describing like what the events you have to deal with are. Like, there's like these grotesque like humanoid creatures that are like hunting you for some reason, and they're also like not like regular. They're also a lot really fat sometimes. Yeah, I have no idea what the story is, honestly. The game is a mix of, I guess, a 3D and a 2D platformer, but it uses more traditional 2D landscape for both its puzzles and platforming sections, which I thought were pretty good overall, but I did find myself stumped on 3 separate occasions in the first game and then once in the second one. By all means, the puzzles work and they make sense, even if I needed help getting past 1 or 2 of them, though the second game had much more fluidity to it and overall structure to the puzzles. Performance-wise, don't even bother trying to play the enhanced editions of either game, as on Steam Deck they're completely busted, where the frame rate being awful and the graphics being like really watered down and like pixelated. I have no idea what causes that, so just stick to the normal versions. I did still have minor issues with keeping the frame rate consistent, though I'm not sure why that is, as even on higher settings the game didn't look any better, and There's not exactly a lot going on screen, but I will say it didn't really affect too much as the game is exactly fast paced and I didn't have to deal with any bugs or crashes, so at least that's there. Overall, both of these games are very short experiences. I chose to play them in short bursts to kind of expend the lifetime of them, and while both have good qualities, they both left something to be desired. I'm also much harsher on these shorter games than your average reviewer because when you charge $20 or $30 respectively, having the first game only run for 3 hours and the second one being just under 5, that's a lot of money to ask for. I did think the first game had higher highs while the sequel raises the floor and made the game a lot better as a whole, so I'll give these games a 6 and an 8 for their parts. Lastly now, we have the Dead Space remake, and for the sake of context, I have to mention I never actually played the original, and the remake is my only exposure to playing the game. With that being said, it was easily one of the best games I have played all year. The simple story of Isaac Clarke going to see what's wrong with the mining ship at Ishimura, which turns into a grotesque body horror story as there's necromorphs running around everywhere, combined with his dead girlfriend sort of leading the way for him, was nothing short of a thrill ride to finally get to experience myself, and doing so through the remake made it all the better. Now remember how 5 seconds ago I said I had never played the game before? Well, I lied. I played like the first hour back on Xbox One through the Game Pass, and even then the graphics looked dated to me, and the shit lighting really turned me off from the game, on top of the fact that Isaac felt so heavy-footed and clunky didn't help. I think I only just got past the first puzzle of sorts where you use your kinetic abilities to plug some engine or whatever back in. With the remake though, everything had a nice modern feel to it, and the gameplay made it a blast. From stomping to razor chopping or even just no gravity sections, gameplay was smooth and enjoyable. Blasting away in the survival horror game was nothing short of just amazingly fun. Performance-wise, the game ran incredibly well, far better than I actually expected. For whatever reason, the first 30 minutes have a lot of frame dips and some textures just don't look so great, but once the game actually settles into itself and you can actually start to play for real, you can really see how much effort they put into making this game, not only to look good, but play good on the deck. I was maintaining 30 FPS easily and I didn't have to deal with any bugs, but my game did crash one time if I remember correctly, but I have no idea what caused it besides maybe the deck overheating. The game overall from start to end was just great. My only real complaint was the boss fight on the bridge, which is just really annoying. It didn't take me long to beat, I just found it lame. I completed all the side quests, and I heard some people don't like the last hour or two as they find it very grindy with just a whole lot of enemy killing. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I thought that was fun. I liked chopping away at the necromorphs and all that, so... And even the final boss fight I thought was perfectly fine, so I don't know what the complaints are there. But again, the game went across the board, easily one of the best games I've played all year. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Go and play it, especially if you have not played the original. Dead Space is the best way to play it in my opinion. But that's going to do it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the second episode of Quick Hits. If you have any thoughts or opinions, leave it down in the comment section down below. I'll be sure to reply to all of you. If you played any of these games before, let me know what you think as well. If you haven't, let me know if I put you onto these games. Maybe I made you less likely to try them yourself. Whatever the case may be, let me know anything you're thinking down in the comment section down below. Once again, thank you for tuning in. I'm Hat Top Gaming. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on social media, and I will see you all later. Peace.